on this episode of Finding Beautiful Strangers. I think I'm there for like a week or two, and people are happy for me. And a few days later, they said, we really like you, but we don't need you anymore. I was like, okay. And I went on my way. And I was the happiest thing to get out of that shop and know that I didn't want to work in retail ever again.
Holding my breath and I'm ready to go. I'm falling right in and I'm ready to go. I found what I want and I know that we're on top. So I'll tap in and I'm ready to whoa.
Finding Beautiful Strangers is my adventure as a serial entrepreneur and how the people I meet along the way make it possible. It's not a job, it's a lifestyle. I'm Abby Wallach, and it's my story.
Ready to whoa.
Camp Brookwood was my all-time favorite place as a child. And one of my favorite parts of camp was the canteen. Okay, back to the candy. The canteen was the place that you would go once a week to get the candy. And somehow, because I wasn't super privileged, everyone said I was, but I'm just going to say I was there and I was a family member. So it was tricky for me. I felt special, but I didn't want to be special. But I did, and I was lucky. And every summer at the end of camp, I would raid this canteen. And whatever candy was left, I would run around with my cousin and we would take it home. So there were definitely a few fun perks about being in a family business, to see how it was operated, to see the people and their passion about it. I loved every second. But the other side that camp brought to me, first I was a total tomboy, diehard on the ball courts, first base, pitcher, was out to win like nobody's business, kind of just like my father was. He was a home run hitter, and the story goes he was scouted by the Dodgers. I want to believe it was true. I think it's pretty fantastic, so we're just going to believe that was true. This part of my life was a huge inspiration for me as a young girl, and to be in business and to look at the world through the eyes of a business person. I was really little, and I would sit in Shabbat dinners at my grandmother's, and they would talk about camp and the catering, and I would give them ideas, and they would look at me like I had three heads. They're like, what is she talking about? Why is she saying that? And they would just stare at me, and I just knew things. And I think maybe I knew things because I listened, and I was a kid. And not only was I a kid, but I listened to what the kids had to say. And if they weren't happy, and if it wasn't good enough, or we needed better candy, or, these were the things that I was attuned to. I was attuned to listening. I was accustomed to getting feedback without even asking for it. So it trained me in my very earliest years to really not only imagine, but to give feedback in ways to family members that maybe they really weren't interested in hearing from me, but I didn't really care because I just told them, because I knew stuff, and that stuff was important for me to share. But overall, I think that part of my early childhood and seeing things that didn't exist and wanting to be a part of the conversation helped me along the way on this serial entrepreneurial journey. I was always encouraged to just be who I was. And no one shut me down. No one told me not to be creative or not to pursue or think or share. And I give so much of that credit to my mother, my grandmothers, my other grandmother, interestingly enough. And this is so cool. She was a real fashionista as well. She had 17 ready-to-wear stores. She was beautiful. She met my grandfather in the garment center. I think I'm actually sitting in a studio in the garment center right now, like in 1940. She was hot stuff. And she and my grandfather met, and he flew off to meet her in Scranton, PA. And within 2 weeks, he was like, you're going to be my wife. And the next thing, they moved out to Denver. And they had 17 ready-to-wear stores. My grandfather was like a super cool Marlon Brando type, very slick, very smart, very savvy. And together they built this very successful business in fashion. They had showrooms. I saw pictures that were black and white, and I saw a sweater bar and a lingerie bar, furs walking down a runway. So when I look back in time and I think about why I love fashion, why I love beauty, why I had these dreams to be in that industry, I think, wow, now I know why. This is like a whole therapy session, this whole thing, and that's all it is. Not even paying anyone to have therapy with myself. My father was a loved person in the world. He was admired. He was very honest. He was very fair. He was an excellent manager. When he left the catering business, which he sold in the 80s, my dad had an opportunity to work with a previous client and build up the piers on the West Side Highway. And he was brought in to manage the piers and build a company. It was called Port Parties. And they basically took over all of the events and brought in the cruise ships. And today, the whole West Side Highway, all of those events that you see were because of a business that he started with a partner. And what I learned from my father, he wasn't a man of many words. And my father was really great with people. And he was very, very well liked. And he would always manage things so they were even keel and they were cool and they were honest and authentic and real. He was a very good businessman. And I modeled a lot of my values and qualities after him because, he was the person who I admired the most, not only as a father, because he was a wonderful father, but also as a business person. The earliest childhood memories really make you who you are. And when I look back and I think, wow, to hear what all of these people who were the most important people in my life would talk about. I was surrounded by people who had very, very strong work ethics, who believed in, providing an amazing service to a client or customer, who were proud of what they did, who cared about their employees and their staff, who took risks, who really worked hard to achieve whatever those things were, to make a living, to provide for their children, to provide for their families. And it's hard. It is hard work to do all of the above. And I think as I start to share more of my journey and the things that I've done, when I look back at all of these people, because it's always about the people and the relationships, the synergies and the way you see things, that really inspired me and prompted me to see things and to want to do things on my own and to be a self-starter and to imagine and to create and never take no for an answer, because if I wasn't going to get it one way, I was going to figure it out another way. Those are the qualities that any entrepreneur really needs, because it is so hard to come up with an idea, make that idea a thing, make that little thing of an idea a reality, a product, a video, whatever it is, and then actually materialize it and then see it and then see if people like it and then put it into the world and then make it commercial. You can't even imagine. And it is one of the most exciting, thrilling, fabulous, intense rides you could be on. But with that said, it can also be one of the most painful, devastating, hard, tearful journey, because it's very lonely. And it's a journey that I personally didn't really have a choice, because I was fired from every job I ever had. I know that sounds so funny, like how could I be fired? I was such a self-starter, but I just got fired all the time. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I got fired. I still am not 100% sure. My very, very first job outside of the family, working as that cocktail waitress or as a counselor at camp or doing little things. I got this job at a store called Benetton. It was a retail store. It had just come to the South Shore. And it was like all the rage. Oh, my God, everybody wanted this job. And we stood on a line, and I don't do lines, but I stood on the line because I wanted the job. So I'm one of the first. There's only 3 of us that get this job at Benetton. It's a very small store, so it's a little claustrophobic for me because it was just a little tight. Benetton was this fantastic brand. It was very diverse. It was really like the shit back when I was a kid. Really cool. And I think I'm there for like a week or two, and people are happy for me. I have to fold sweaters, but I'm really shitty at folding, so I'm constantly in trouble. And I'm really, really trying to fold. And there are a few other girls in the shop, and they're nice, but I'm a little different than them. More of a tomboy at that time, like baseball, watched the Yankees, that kind of stuff. It was a little gossipy for me. I wasn't a big gossip. I saw the gossip and I saw the conversations, and I was like, this just is not for me. And something happened where I wasn't included in something, and I was so upset. I think it was a little bit of a kiss-ass game. The owner, everybody that worked there kind of like kissed up to this girl. And that was so not who I was. I just was not. I didn't even know how to do it. I didn't even know what to do. I just didn't do that, and I didn't play that game. And a few days later, they said, we really like you, but we don't need you anymore. I was like, okay. And I went on my way, and I was the happiest thing to get out of that shop and know that I didn't want to work in retail ever again. Next time, we travel to sunny Cali and the beauty aisles of one of the biggest box retailers in the world, where a perilous journey to bring a game-changing fragrance brand into the market leads me to a total stranger who prays for a miracle. Plus, a quick save averts a middle-of-the-night printing disaster. Don't be a stranger. Find me at abby.wallach on Instagram. And if you want to learn more about my projects and the things that I've done, check it out, abbywallach.com. This podcast is produced and edited by Mark Rako. Copyright 2022, Abby Wallach Productions.